The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm your host, Cheryl Hentz, and we've got some folks on today that we've never had on before, but we are very glad that they're here tonight. To my right, I almost went like this, to my right is Emily Schwartz. Emily is the Community Services Coordinator for Gabriel's Villa, is it?
Carmel residence and the Simiana apartments.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. And we have,
Trish Salomon.
Trish Salomon, you are the Community Services Coordinator.
Other way around. I'm the administrator at Gabriel's Villa.
Oh,
That's
my.
okay.
Okay.
That's all right.
Well, I've totally screwed this up, but I do know who's who, so that's a good thing. Okay, so we're going to be talking for the next 20 minutes or so about senior living options in Oshkosh. One of the first things that I want to talk about is the fact that this used to be called something different.
It did.
Was it originally Bethel Homes and then it became Lutheran Homes of Oshkosh?
No.
Or Bethel Home was something different?
Bethel Home is part of it. So, yes, it was formerly Lutheran Homes of Oshkosh. And Bethel Home was basically the flagship of the organization. But I just want, now we are Miravida Living. And I want to let everybody know that we are still the same faith-based organization, community engaged, as well as a senior living community that it's been for 50 plus years. But what's different, why we changed the name, was really to reflect our philosophy of aging and really reflect all the fantastic programs that we have that we're going to talk to you about today, which is great. The name literally means living with wonder.
Okay.
So that, the bright colors in the logo, the purple that we're wearing here today, right, that represents all that we are. Okay. And what we are is a full complement of continuum of care for senior living. But not only do we offer excellent care, 5-star care, we also offer unique, innovative programs that fits our philosophy. And that philosophy is basically that you live with wonder till you take your last breath.
Okay. I like that concept.
Yeah.
Live with wonder. Mm-hmm. And it's also on your cups.
It is.
I'm noticing. So, I know you said that you've got some unique programs and that you guys are unique as an organization in of itself. But what sets you apart from some of the other, because I think we're very blessed in this area. We have, for the most part, some really good quality organizations that do great things for folks.
We do.
And I have a little bit of knowledge of you guys because my father, before he passed, was at your facility. He was actually at Bethel Home. And so I'm a little bit familiar with you guys, trying to hold back a few tears here. But in any event, what sets you guys apart from the other places that are also unique and very good? Who wants to field that one?
I can start.
All right.
I think it really just steers back to what Trish was talking about with our innovative programs. So one of them that we have is Namaste Care, We were actually the first place in Wisconsin in 2014 to implement this one. And it really allows staff the opportunity to try to provide hope for that family and make the person as comfortable as they can be. So this could include, like if there's a movie on, popping popcorn in the background to make it like a theater. We've got aromatherapy, putting nature up on a screen and playing some calming music. And we are actually an international champion now. In 2018, we were asked to be on a committee for that. So there was the first screen conference in February it was, and there was representation from Greece, Ireland, Great Britain.
Wow.
So it's really cool to see that we're international now with our work too.
Absolutely.
Another great one is the Music and Memory program. So this also started back in 2014, and staff describes it as for some people it's great, others it's not, so it's all about finding that perfect fit. One story that they shared with me, so typically when you walk into a nursing home or assisted living, you might hear some older music, maybe some polka music, just of that time. This woman loved hardcore rock and roll.
Oh, wow.
So they were able to plug the headphones in, and she could listen to her rock and roll and jam out, and that really calmed her down.
Yeah.
So those are two of our programs, and got a couple other.
We do. I was thinking when you said international, another thing that I think is so unique is that we look beyond what you think of senior living. And one thing is our Cycling Without Age. Cycling Without Age is an international program that actually originated in Copenhagen, Denmark. And basically, we were the first individuals to bring senior care to this country.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And what it is, the tagline is feel the wind in your hair. Basically, you give people bicycle rides. It's a rickshaw. So somebody who has not been out in the fresh air and seeing flowers and just feeling that wind in their hair, they can now, even if they can't walk, they're wheelchair bound, they can sit in this rickshaw, and we have what we call pilots. Those are the people that pedal. We train them, and those are community members.
So they're volunteers?
Volunteers.
Okay, excellent.
It's wonderful. And we do train them, and for anybody interested, there is battery assist on the bike. You don't have to crank your knees. But it is so wonderful. And again, we were the first ones to bring it here, and we have a fleet of 7 now within our organization. Okay. And we've also helped over 60 other senior living facilities across the U.S. and beyond.
To learn how to implement this program?
To actually bring the program to them.
Very good.
So it's been really cool. But again, the community partners, police department, fire department, then we have family members. So then you have this intergenerational connection.
Sure.
So you may have a grandson pedaling their grandparents around, and it's just fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So those are definitely things that make you guys unique. And you were talking about the Namaste stuff. Even in Bethel Home, I guess patients could go in there, but as a family, we went in the Namaste room and, kicked back in the nice recliners. I can't remember if they have vibration or not, but there's aromatherapy that I saw in there, and it's a really cool, very relaxing place. Because, when someone is in hospice, it's stressful. And so I found that to be very, relaxing and just got me centered again, to go the next round.
Exactly. That's good to hear.
Now you've got another event that is coming up soon. It's coming up on June 7th. It's called National Chocolate Ice Cream Day, and that's at Carmel Residence.
Yes.
Is it just there only?
It is.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Yeah, so June 7th is National Chocolate Ice Cream Day, so we thought, why not celebrate that? So we are going to have a ton of chocolate ice cream toppings. We want community members to bring their families in, bring their friends in, really just see what we're all about, how that kind of retirement community independent living has really changed over the years. So come on in, have some chocolate ice cream with us, and we'll tell you a little bit about what Carmel Residence is all about.
Sure, excellent. Well, you talk about continuum of care. That's a really big thing that has become, I think, more important as the years have gone on. Maybe starting 10 years, maybe even 15 years ago, I think it started coming into being. And explain for folks what that is. I think most people kind of know, but You want to feel that?
Absolutely. Continuum of care, basically you'll move in, say, into the independent living. You start there. You have a good sense of community, but then there may come a time where you need a little more help. And as you mentioned, I'm the administrator. Gabriel's Villa, that's the assisted living arm of our organization. And that's where you just get a little more help. And then we also have Elijah's Place, which is memory care. If there's some dementia, things are advancing, then we have, again, a wonderful home-like supportive environment. Then we also have, as you mentioned, Bethel Home, the skilled facility, as well as rehab. So somebody can get rehab at many of the facilities that I'm talking about. Also, something unique to us, we were the first to bring to Wisconsin, are the greenhouse homes. And greenhouse, when I first heard that, I thought, oh, that must mean environmentally green, which they are. But what it is a thought process of aging in place. So the greenhouses are actually fantastic, where it's a smaller environment, where the center is the living room and kitchen, and then you have bedrooms surrounding. So that community is very warm, inviting, smaller, and it's still a skilled facility. And that's also a 5-star facility. So that's really great. So the point is that you can just move along and to fit whatever needs that you have at the time.
Sure. Excellent. Well, I know that you're a nonprofit, and so financial donations are always welcomed.
Yes.
Where do you get the bulk of your financial support?
From the community. I mean,
Really?
absolutely.
Okay.
We are extremely blessed to be so involved in our community and have wonderful community partners. But just, for instance, just interacting with our community, even the Cycling Without Age that I talked about, Ben Rennert from Winnebago Bicycle, he donates his time to work on the rickshaws. And then we've been really a long-standing relationship with UW Oshkosh, the nursing program, the school system. I can go on and on. There's a lot of community partners. So I think just being out and seeing that we support the community and then they support us.
Sure. It's a nice partnership.
It is, absolutely.
Well, you are you are like a lot of nonprofits, always asking for money, and you rely upon those financial donations.
We do.
What about any kind of grants? Do you seek out grants?
We do seek out grants, senior living grants, state grants. Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Well, and we've also got a very short video that I think beautifully shows your campus, and it makes a small reference to the need for financial contributions or financial donations. So why don't we, it's just 2 or 3 minutes, we can take a look at that now, and there it is.
Miravida Living is a journey of discovery filled with meaning, purpose, and unlimited possibility. We provide excellent care and extraordinary experiences that are catered to each individual. Residents live life on their own terms and find inspiration to live with wonder. Donations significantly magnify and multiply opportunities for people residing at Miravida Living.
Bill's journey with Miravida started back in October of 2015. It's just been a marvelous experience these last 3 years. I can't say enough good about the people who work here. In fact, I think that's why he's still here after all that time. It's just the all-around living experience here. It's not like living in a nursing home. It's like living in your own home with friends.
We're constantly seeking new innovations to continue to provide extraordinary experiences with and for our elders. We are the first care facility in the nation to bring a Cycling Without Age program from Denmark to the U.S., and the first facility in Wisconsin to offer greenhouse homes, pet therapy through our Noah's Landing program, and frequent facility renovations add to our efforts of providing state-of-the-art care. None of this would be possible without the generosity of our community.
We have been donors to Miravida for about 25 years. My wife and I are very quiet donors, but it's really a joy to sit back and see how your money works as a donor. And we sure enjoy sitting and looking at how we have helped people or enhanced a program or done something that is beneficial.
Miravida Living empowers elders to pursue their lifelong passions. Let each phase in life be welcomed with joy and wonder. Join us in creating extraordinary experiences for those entrusted to our care.
What a nice video.
Yeah.
Did
it's
you guys
nice
make
to-
that here or
We did. Mm-hmm.
in-house?
Isn't that nice? No, not
with
here.
some professional
Yes,
help?
yes.
Yeah, whoever did it, did a very nice job, I think. So, of course, besides financial help, you guys, like any nonprofit, need volunteers.
We do.
We talked a little bit about that with regard to the cycling, the rickshaw program, and so forth. But what other things can volunteers do there? Do they need any special training? I know for the rickshaw they don't, but who should they contact? What training do they need, if any? Is there a limit as to how many hours they need to work? Or tell us about that.
It is really, really open. So anybody that wants to volunteer, there is a short application that they can fill out, and then they go through a background check. Once that's cleared, we really just want to know what they're interested in, and then we can match that to something that we have. So lots of activities that go on in-house. There's bingo and other games that go on in-house to do. Like I know in Bethel Home, there's a cookie cart that goes around twice a week.
Cool.
So to help deliver and do things like that.
Yep,
If anyone has,
any of the activities that we do, that's we could use that. Definitely.
even if anyone has like a musical talent or something that we haven't seen yet, bring it to our attention, and we're more than happy to bring that in as well.
Sure,
I
absolutely.
can definitely be a contact if somebody's interested in volunteering.
Okay.
Be happy to help with that.
Okay. So the application, is that something that they download and fill out and either mail or scan and then email, or can it be completed online?
All of the above.
All of the
Yes.
above.
I was going to say yes.
You
yes,
guys
and
make
yes.
it easy.
Yeah,
You make
we
it easy for
do.
folks to
We
volunteer to help you
do.
guys out.
Yeah.
We noticed dogs in that a number of segments there in that video. A pet therapy program, if someone has a dog and they'd like to be a part of that, I know that some places don't care if the dog actually has a certificate. If a person has a family member there who's a patient, they can bring in their own dogs, because I did
Absolutely.
that with my father, and as did the rest of my family. But for a pet therapy program, it's a little different. What is required there?
There is a class or a certificate that you can bring in. But if it's a well-behaved dog, we welcome all dogs. But in terms of pet therapy, there would be. We've actually put on the program ourselves and it's been great. Some of many of our own staff will bring their dogs through and get them certified. So a few of the dogs you saw in the video are our own staff members.
Oh, cool.
That made
That's
their
great.
dogs certified, and now they bring them to work every day. It's fantastic. Yeah.
So they either have to be certified then for the pet therapy program or take the class to become certified.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
again, dogs can still visit if they're well behaved, and not only dogs. I had a lady who was actually a hospice patient, and the hospice nurse found out she liked chickens, and the hospice nurse actually had a one-legged chicken.
Oh,
and
wow.
she brought the chicken in, and the lady loved it and petted it, held it. It was fantastic. So we are not limited to dogs.
that is really cool. So when
Yes.
you say, though, that dogs can still visit even if they're not certified, still visit family members or visit patients in general?
It depends
residents in
on it
general.
depends on the location. Like
Okay.
at the assisted living, I think because there's more interaction with the residents, and they can get up and move around, and they have the choice if they want to pet them and so forth. So it may be a little less restrictive.
Sure.
So
So should they
yes.
contact either one of you?
Either one of us
Okay,
is
all right.
fine. Yep.
I know that even though I brought my own dog, one of them, in to see my father, there were other residents in the hallway way, and oh, can I pet your dog? And yes, you can, and it was great, and you could just see the change in their face, and I think even in their entire body. They just seemed to have. The dog brought them a calming effect. I think.
Absolutely does.
Pet
The
therapy.
petting, yep. And we do have Noah's Landing. The pet therapy is wonderful.
Okay,
Yep.
fantastic. So, any closing thoughts that you might have for us?
I do. Another thing we haven't talked about is employment opportunities. I have to say, when I think of Miravida Living and myself going to work, I don't think of, I have to go to work. I think I get to go to work today. I get to work in this great place.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And
so-
what kinds of positions do you have to fill?
Oh, I think across the board there's always positions from CNAs, caregivers, nurses, maintenance, housekeeping. I don't know exactly what's open at the moment, but those are all the positions that we do have available.
I assume that when people go to miravidaliving.com that there's a place there for employment and then the various jobs are listed for
Exactly.
which you have vacancies? Okay.
Yep.
So you make it so easy for folks.
We do.
There's no excuses. Go there, check it out. All right, well, guys, thanks so much for being here. It's been a real pleasure. I know we haven't had a lot of time to talk, but I think we packed a lot in to the last 20 minutes or so. So thank you so much again.
Thank you.
And thank you for the work that you guys are doing.
Appreciate
So
that.
we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we will be joined by Oshkosh's mayor and Oshkosh's deputy mayor. We will be right back.
It's not a charity, it's more than a charity. It's about helping people we live with. It's about being the type of person that the 6-year-old version of ourselves wanted us to be. It's about community and looking out for one another. It's about money, yes, but it's so much more than money. It's about friendship and common values. It's about opening doors when others are slammed shut. It's about giving kids a place to be kids and growing up knowing they live in a community that cares about them. It's about making sure that everyone gets to see the dentist, because we want to make sure that they have every last tooth in those smiles. Ultimately, that's it. It's about the smiles, old smiles and new smiles. It's about us, all of us, our community living united, because great things happen when we live united. Will you join us?
Oh no, did I miss the exit?
Hey pal, you look a little lost.
What?
You know your smartphone has GPS, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm driving right now. Let's text your sister to see if she's texting. Okay, look, I'll help. I've got a map. Okay. I am done with this distraction.
Not my hair dryer.
Hey, no! That's distracting.
Okay, I'll go.
Focus on driving, not the distractor.
Find me a new driver.
Get lost.
And welcome back to the next segment here of Eye on Oshkosh. Joining me now are our newly elected mayor, Lori Palmeri, and our newly appointed by the council deputy mayor, Steve Herman. And I think most folks in Oshkosh probably know who you guys are. You've been around for a while. So.
Yeah, we've been around the block a little bit.
And we're not going to talk about politics tonight. We're going to do something different. The city is always, always, always needing volunteers to serve on their boards and commissions that help to keep the city moving in a forward direction. And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to touch on each one of these boards very quickly. We're not going to go into a lot of detail because we want to make sure that we have time to cover all these. However, I will say this, on the city's website that we will be putting up hopefully throughout the show, you can go there, you can look at everything that's involved in that board or commission, and there's applications there, so you guys also make it easy for volunteers. So
Yes, there's an online application.
Yes, online, and you can also download one, fill it out, scan it, and then email it back in or mail it in, however you want to do it. So let's talk about the first one here. And I don't care who answers this. You can go back and forth or whatever. The Advisory Park Board.
Well, I'm serving on it. In fact, Monday will be my last meeting, as some appointments will be changing. But the Advisory Parks Board is responsible for all the parks throughout the city of Oshkosh. And they work hand in hand with Ray Maurer, Parks Director, and Chad Dolman, the Parks head of the facilities of the parks. And the board is an advisory board that makes recommendations to the council on park-related issues. They have a capital improvement budget that they approve upcoming park projects. Like this year, we're doing the bathrooms at West Haven Park, for example. Okay. That's a capital improvement budget item that the council approved. And we're basically taking the shell of the building and gutting everything else and making it ADA compliant, upgrading everything and things like that. So that's what the Parks Board does. And Monday night will be the kickoff of the community involvement with the Lakeshore Park.
And this show will air after that.
Okay.
So
all right.
We're done.
But, all right, we'll move on.
All right. Board of Appeals, which is also known as the Board of Zoning Appeals. And all of these boards and commissions that we're going to be talking about tonight are advisory in nature, with the exception of the Board of Zoning Appeals. It is a quasi-judicial board, meaning that it doesn't make any advisory recommendations to the council. Whatever they decide on becomes law. The only place where something can be challenged is in a court of law. Correct. So not even the city council can undo what this board does. So it's a pretty important board.
It's one of the most important boards because of their quasi.
Yep. So tell us what the Board of Zoning Appeals or the Board of Appeals does in a nutshell.
Sure. So Board of Zoning Appeals was created under statute 6223 under Wisconsin statutes, and then our local ordinance 2-59. It consists of 5 members and 2 alternates, 3-year terms. And just for future reference, and whenever we speak about alternates, would attend the meetings. They don't have voting privilege unless one of the regular members is not there and they're stepping in, then they would, of course, have voting. But Board of Zoning Appeals.
Let me just interrupt you for a second. Can they also, if a member, a voting member needs to abstain from a vote, or as you guys call it in the city, vote present, can that alternate then vote?
Ooh, now you're asking me
okay, we'll leave
technical,
that.
legal
we'll
question.
Leave that. We'll,
I believe not, if you're in presence. It's really there in case someone can't be there.
Okay.
More for quorum.
Quorum
purposes.
purposes.
All right. Okay.
But they would handle variances. Things that perhaps a resident had brought before, and there was maybe some disagreement. That body would have that quasi-judicial, as you spoke, opportunity to hear that issue again.
Right. Or someone, here's another example, someone wants to maybe build a deck or a fence, and they want to take it a little bit closer maybe to the property line, whether it's a neighbor's property line or the city sidewalk. They would have to apply for a variance in which to do that. And that's something that the Board of Zoning Appeals would hear the evidence on that, the reasons why, and then they would have to look at the law and say, okay, this is something that we can grant.
Yes,
so.
And I believe there's some reference to whether or not it creates a hardship on those variances as well.
Yep,
right.
Yep. There's a lot of things that go into it. So
very important.
Yep. So the Board of Review, let's talk about what that is.
Okay, so the Board of Review, State Statute 7046.
Let's just talk about what it does, Laura.
All right, sure.
People don't care about that.
5 members, 2 alternates, 5-year terms. 5-year terms, I think, is pretty important.
Yep.
Property assessment, so if you're wanting to contest your tax assessment, they meet annually within 30 days of the first Monday in May. So citizens can go before that board and contest their tax assessment.
Right.
Okay. So this Board of Review, since they're only doing a few things, we get our tax
Right.
bills once a year. So maybe how many days would you say they're working a year right around that time?
Well, around that time when there's open records, for people to come in, they're pretty busy because people then they'll get their questions answered, and then they'll be advised to go to the board of review because they'll meet with the assessor's office first and have that look-see and how did they come up with that, and if they still disagree, then they go to the board of review.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's kind of the final piece in that process.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
You don't just jump right there.
Yeah.
Please talk to the assessor's
Right.
office first.
Yes, please.
Right, and we should also make the point, or I'll make the point, that that's the time when you can test your tax bills. You can always see about getting your assessed value lowered or raised based on what's happening in your neighborhood. I did that with one of my properties a number of years ago. I felt like the value had actually declined, and I just contacted a city assessor. They walked through the property with me, brought me back to City Hall, said, okay, you're right, here's what it should be reduced by.
Because
Boom,
again,
it was
they
done.
don't assess every year. So, things can happen in between that time.
7
to 10 years,
Yep.
So.
Okay, and all of these boards and commissions, by the way, you can find out how many members are required, how long the term is. You can find out all of that information by going to the city's website.
That's great.
So the bid board, Business Improvement District Board.
Yes, so the Business Improvement District Board, that is also statutory, it's a required board. We have 10 required boards, 14 that are local options, and the bid does, they're members of the bid, and they have actual boundaries that in our particular case are primarily downtown. I think it's from like Parkway down to the river and just Main Street.
Yeah,
I think it's just
to Broad,
Main Street.
and it goes off the side streets to CP Otter. Some of the Atomic Cats is in there.
So do you have to be a business owner then?
No, you can be a business owner or a business owner of a building in the district.
So that has some very specific requirements as to who can serve on that
owner
board.
or landlord or tenant type can all be on the bid board.
Okay.
And they do a lot of, marketing type things and joint efforts for those businesses' benefit.
Right.
And they have their own budget that council passes.
Right.
Okay.
But the bid sets up their own budget, and they can assess over and above what the city assesses for property in there, but they have to justify that money to be used within the bid for their business work.
Okay. Equal Opportunity in Housing Commission. That's a long name.
Okay, so Equal Opportunity in Housing. So we did a review of all the boards and commissions back in 2017, and from what I understand, that has not met because we have not had complaints. A number of housing complaints are actually go through the Fair Housing Council, and as I understand it, city attorney indicated that there had not been any complaints in over like 20 years.
One of those,
but it's an ad hoc. It's
Yes,
an ad hoc as needed.
Right.
Okay,
It's
all
one
right.
that has to be like identified as a requirement, but they don't have to meet on any
Okay.
kind of regular basis.
Okay. Well, let's move on then to the Committee on Aging. That sounds
Well, I'll
pretty
talk a little bit
important.
about that because I did a lot of work with the senior community.
Sure.
The Committee on Aging for the City of Oshkosh it's out of the senior center, but it's really a committee that looks at senior issues throughout the City of Oshkosh. What are those issues? Are they transportation? Are they security? Are they the senior center needs to be remodeled or something like that? So their focus is strictly on the senior community in Oshkosh.
So the Senior Center does fall under that then?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
I will tell you, just a slight correction there. I was corrected this week. I met with the chair of that committee, and they did want to make sure that there was clarity that the senior center, is separate from the Committee on Aging,
Correct.
and so there's, there's a little bit of separation.
Right,
there.
their budget isn't attached to them or anything.
Okay.
They're really an issue-driven
Okay.
board.
All right. Extraterritorial Zoning Committee.
Okay, so another one of the statutorily required committees, essentially the extraterritorial zoning committee is like we have a 3-mile kind of border or boundary that this helps that intergovernmental cooperation run a little smoother as it relates to the urban land meeting the rural land, so that joint decisions can be made. But there is some reach by the city 3 miles out, essentially.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Joint Board Review. What in the world is that?
Go ahead. Joint board review.
Neither one of you wants to
It's-
do it. You
Well-
want to defer
They-
to each other.
Yeah.
That's a member from county, school district,
Great.
city, and I believe the technical
Technical
college.
They basically meet to approve any TIF districts because they're the
Okay.
taxing entities
Right,
involved
okay.
with a TIF, and they basically get the same information we do when we hear from like Ellers, our legal consultant for financials,
Right.
and some of those. That the TIF is solid. It will work. It can go to 27 years, 25 years,
But
whatever our policy is.
They are the final say in the but-for test on a
Okay,
TIF.
right.
Correct. Last thing I was going to say.
Okay.
Sorry.
And explain to folks, I could,
Yes.
but explain to folks what the but-for test really is.
Would the project succeed but for help from us?
Sure.
With
So-
the tax incentives that TIF will give.
Right.
That's kind of the but for.
Given
Right.
certain assumptions.
Yep.
Given a certain,
Yep.
correct.
And so the people who can serve on that, Lori, you were saying someone from the cities, someone from the school district. Are you talking elected officials from those different entities?
Those are officially designated, again, by statute.
Okay, all right, so
It's
so
not
that
a- it's
is
not a
not
citizen-
something, it's
No,
not a
that's not a
volunteers.
citizen one.
Okay,
No.
all right. Well, one that is a citizen one, the next in line here alphabetically, is the Landmarks Commission. I served on that for a short period of time. I've served on a number of boards and commissions, and I enjoyed the Landmarks Commission, but I had to get off of it because the time that they met conflicted with another board and commission that I was on. So I
Got to
went
pick
with-
and choose which are more important,
I
right?
did. I went with the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's important.
Well, Landmarks is too.
Yeah.
So let's hear about the Landmarks Commission.
Landmarks, and actually going back to, again, that 2017 study, that also includes the Grand Opera House in that now,
Right.
when we merged and did some review of all the boards and commissions. But historic landmarking of certain properties, I believe we have over, I want to say 37 properties.
37 with plaques now on
Yes,
when they were
that have
built
been-
and the historic impact of them in the community. That's what the Landmarks really does. It looks at the community as a whole, and when remodeling gets done, is it done back to the original? They do some of that assessments. They look at different areas of the city to be in a designated historic district.
Sure.
And
sure.
so they really look at preserving the history of Oshkosh.
Absolutely.
Well, I just want to say one thing about that, and one of you or both of you can make a note on this. I can't remember the name of the house that it's a designated landmark in the city. It's over on Oshkosh Avenue where that daycare center is. And the house was originally just to the east of that daycare center at the corner of,
Davis Child Care.
Yes,
On
yes.
Oshkosh Avenue.
Yes.
It's the
Is it the Acanthus?
Acanthus House? Yes.
no, I think it was
No,
the Cole House or something like that.
Something on that order,
In any
yeah.
event, the house was taken down, but the sign still stands. And I don't understand why, because
I
if
think that was a
you're-
requirement of when the land was donated to the city, that the
Okay.
city would, no matter what they did with the property, that they would recognize that land was historic to the city of Oshkosh.
just looks
It's
so
kind of
silly
tied into
standing
like
there by itself.
it's kind of like tied into to across the street to the softball diamond complex.
Yeah.
That has
Okay.
to stay that
All
way.
right,
That was
interesting.
all part of it.
Library Board.
Well, the library board is part of the Winnie Fox system, and they are responsible for the Oshkosh Public Library.
Okay.
How it operates, what goes on there.
Can citizens serve on that?
Yes,
or-
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
It
all
is
right.
also a required board, but they also have a little bit separate jurisdiction. They're one of the unique boards and commissions that doesn't necessarily have to, get council approval on certain things.
Correct.
Okay. Long Range Finance Committee.
Well, the Long Range Finance Committee is tasked and was developed several years ago to look at the health of the city's budgets and how do we fund long-range projects, like when we did the Central Garage, or when we looked at redoing our TIF, how we did our TIF policy. They look at the long-range healthiness of the city's finances.
Okay.
They are the ones that brought forward a policy for council to have so many months of operating budget on hand. So it's really kind of a task-driven from policies that council may need help on. They research certain things, like when we were looking at the vehicle registration fee, or now we're looking at a different way to fund our roads with
on the water
stormwater
bill,
runoff.
sure.
So they're looking at the feasibility of that. So that's kind of, they're tasked with that, and finance director.
Maximum borrowing too. I
Yep,
believe
maximum
came out of
borrowing.
that.
Yep, we have policy on that.
Prioritization.
And the finance director is heavily engaged with that group because she brings all the numbers obviously
Sure.
to the table.
She knows.
And but it's one that you don't hear a lot about, but when they do come forward with stuff, it has big impact on the city.
They came up with, for example, a few years back, the prioritization of certain CIP projects.
Right.
And I believe that board was actually created during my husband's tenure on council,
Okay.
Yes.
if I recall.
Yes.
Okay. All right. The museum board.
Well, that's again a very
Kinda
active
self-explanatory.
citizen board, because they are in charge of keeping the museum up and running, up and active and engaged in the community. They work very closely with Brad Larson, the director, on bringing in displays and things at the museum. And it's people that really have an interest, again, in the history of Oshkosh, because
Sure.
the museum's all about the city of Oshkosh.
Okay. The Plan Commission, that is one that's also very important as an advisory board. Tell us what that does.
So again, another required one statutorily. They actually meet twice a month. They have so much work. They are the real workhorse here on land use and zoning decisions and advising council on those items that come before them. And again, they meet twice a month.
Okay. But not to be confused with zoning variances, because that
Correct.
would go back to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Correct.
A little bit more at the planning, as the mayor said, you want to build something in Oshkosh, that you go in front of them first. And they kind of, if there's requirements, like you need to do your parking lot a certain way, or you need to have more impervious surfaces and things like that, they make some of those decisions.
Setbacks on
Setbacks.
fences.
Sure.
And
Whether you need drains in a parking lot,
Right,
if you're,
right, right.
all kinds. It's an interesting board.
It is, and it's
or
very,
commission.
and even redeveloping existing buildings.
yes.
Okay. All right. Pedestrian and Bicycling Advisory Committee. What does that committee do?
I've served on that one before. First off, we have a bicycle and pedestrian plan. They were very instrumental in putting that plan together. How we, develop our bicycle routes throughout the city and our sidewalk improvement programs and that. So they're very engaged with Jim Collins, Department of Transportation.
Okay.
It's kind of hand in hand with them, and they every year look at the plan and see what can be added, because there are priorities in that plan that need to be initiated by council, and they kind of approve those plans.
And I'm the current liaison there. That'll potentially be transitioning. But for example, right now they're also doing the annual planning coming up May 11th. I don't know if that'll be before or after this airing, but the annual Bike Oshkosh event of several years now. A pretty exciting event. And that, as you were referencing the bike and pedestrian plan, they have spent the last year updating and reviewing chapters, so that should be coming forth very soon, the updated version.
All right. Police and Fire Commission.
Well,
You're a retired cop. Let's hear from you.
That too is a committee we have they appoint the chief of police and the fire chief. City council does not. So they make that appointment and set up how they go about hiring the chief of police. Then all promotions and that in the police and fire department are approved by them.
Okay.
And also hiring is approved by them. It's I believe it's a 5-member board.
It's 5 members,
Yes.
And they are 5-year terms.
Yes.
No alternates.
No.
But it is also, there are citizens on that board as well.
Yeah, it's all citizens. Yeah.
So you said that they hire and make hiring decisions for the chief of police and the chief of the fire department. So they don't just recommend. They actually, to you guys, they actually
They
make
tell us,
the final
yep,
decision.
They make the final decision.
Okay. Well, that
Council
is an
does not.
important one. Public Arts and Beautification Committee.
That's a newer one, and for example, they are looking at things such as mural ordinances. We had a mural ordinance for a number of years with the new zoning code that was removed, and then they worked on, I believe, that as well. I think that was actually jointly with maybe Plan Commission, if I'm not mistaken. And so they're looking at, some of the more aesthetic things in the community, whether or not we have, public art monuments and those kinds of things. Yeah.
Sure.
Planting of trees.
Does
that
falls
under
under that's under
city
parks.
forest.
Okay.
City forestry and parks. But
All right.
like if you've been down the Riverwalk, you saw the lake fly display. They approved those. The mural on the buildings, as she said, they were engaged with the new water tower to see if anything different could be done. So yeah,
That's probably the only lake fly in this community that's not annoying.
true. They are annoying.
They're coming.
They're coming.
Yeah,
Mother's Day is right around the corner.
Yep. Redevelopment Authority.
So the Redevelopment Authority, yet again, another required one, statutorily created. I guess, if you will, they basically are the holder of the land that the city purchases, and they are somewhat also separate and can make decisions. And then most of the time that comes to council, but they are basically the holders of the land that the city, and they make the decisions about and recommendations about purchasing of property.
Okay. All right.
Purchasing, buying, and selling. They're kind of a land bank, if you will.
Yeah, they're land bank. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Rental Housing Advisory Board. Lori, you and I sit on that board, but since you're the guest, I will let you talk about that just a little bit.
Sure. So Rental Housing Advisory Board has been in existence for a couple of years. It came out of the rental inspections program. Council made the determination that there would need to be a body to help with the educational piece of that, as well as advising council on ordinance-related policy.
And I think we've done not to toot our own horn, but I think we've done a very good job so far.
In light of the moving target in the
yes.
legislation?
Yeah. That put a lot of our work on hold for a while until Madison could get its act together.
Act 176 definitely put us at least a year in delay.
Yeah, as far as the inspections go, but we continue to, work as a board, and we continue to do so.
And I think it's an important board when you look at how Oshkosh is transitioning housing. More and more and more apartments are being built all the time. So there's always going to be that landlord-tenant.
Yeah,
I don't want to say conflict, because it's not always conflicts, but those issues. So I think it's important that we have a board that can address concerns dealing with the rental community. It's a big part
and
of
they were
job.
very instrumental in creating the solution to going forward, even in light of some of the changes that came out of Madison in Act 176, in that they worked on developing the criteria with staff. The GIS team was really incredible and instrumental in that. Kudos to them. I think they even won an award out of that.
Oh, wow.
And are looked at as a model. So absolutely, that board has done a lot of heavy lifting, and now there would be outreach and education on the program.
Yeah, and for people who are renters and they need some information about housing issues, there are a number of things that the city has. You can look at things on the website. I don't know if it's actually there into the Rental Housing Advisory Board yet, because the website is still in flux and still developing, but there are a number of educational pamphlets and so forth that we have put together, and they're available at City Hall if someone's interested, or online, one way or the other. Stormwater Utility Board.
Small but powerful.
Yes.
A workhorse. There is an opening, by the way, on stormwater utility. That's a group of folks who look at some of those things that we need to do to continue to have hopefully flood-free zoning or flood-free streets.
Yep.
And they've done a lot of advisory work for council, as well as, I believe, Plan Commission.
Right.
Okay. Sustainability Advisory Board.
Well, I've sure done that board. Basically, they're looking at a sustainable Oshkosh. They look at pollution issues. They look at green zones. They look at all types of things that deal with sustainability. How can we be better stewards of our city in our
For
in our
future
land?
generations.
Right. And so they work closely with the university. The university has done several studies for the sustainability board, then reports out to the sustainability board and to council. And they're good initiatives that we brought some of that stuff forward. Central Garage, a lot of how the Central Garage was set up and built was on a sustainable type situation with lighting and zones and things like that. So it's an important board.
And they look at green infrastructure,
green
your
infrastructure,
rain gardens and your rain barrels
Yep.
and those kinds of things to help reduce runoff. And we've also seen them, make, comments with regard to things like solar and wind and alternative fuels and greenhouse gas emissions.
Right.
They've done a lot of work, and they've been around for, actually, I think they were called the Energy and Environment before.
Somewhere
like 20 years ago.
Yeah, somewhere around when I first got on council, we switched the name to sustainability.
Well, sustainability is more of a buzzword today anyway.
It is.
It's more recognizable, I think, to people than, I mean, certainly environment is a recognizable word.
But even going in our sanitation, going with the single stream sanitation came a lot of that. The sustainability board looked at the impact of that and how it would affect the city and be better than the system we had in the past.
All right. Traffic and Parking Advisory Board.
You're sitting on that
I'm
one right
sitting
now.
on that one right now. They're responsible for like your 2-hour parking zones on the streets. They're in charge of all the parking lots that the city owns as far as setting up parking time limits and permitting and all that. They also look at when citizens have complaints about speeding or they want a stop sign or a yield sign in their neighborhood. It comes in front of that board. And Jim Collins, the transportation director, oversees that, and he does all the research on citizen complaints and brings it to that board, and that board then makes a recommendation to council to maybe change an ordinance, approve a stop sign or yield sign in an area that we don't have one.
Sure.
So citizens have an opportunity, if they have traffic-related issues in their neighborhoods, to come to that board and air their concerns.
Sure.
And I would just add too that Parking Advisory Board just recently, within the last year, merged into traffic. And I want to give a lot of credit to the Parking Advisory Board because they did a lot of work on a parking study, a downtown parking study, before this merger.
Yep.
All right. Parking tickets, for example, if someone gets a parking ticket and they want to dispute that, would that be something? Okay.
That board doesn't do that. That would go through, you'd go through the police department and they have a complaint process.
They have a form.
Yeah, they
that
do.
You can fill out.
They do. And then they make I just wasn't sure where it went once you filled that form out.
It goes back to the police
that.
department.
Okay.
They handle that.
Transit Advisory Board.
So Transit Advisory Board, I sat on that for a while. They have worked more recently on a substantive issue on the transit development plan. So, the routes, the boarding counts, and some of the recommendations that came out. More recently, we had to increase for the first time in, I think, 10 years, the fare, and there was work done with East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. Thank you, East Central. And so they are looking at more of the bus system, the GO Transit.
All right. So in all, and we got through them. I can't believe
23?
Was it 23 or 22? I counted 22, but I could have miscounted because I was trying to listen to you at the same time.
23, yeah.
But still, there are a number of committees and boards and places for people to serve. And I will just say this, as someone who has, I'm from here originally. I moved away. I was gone for a number of years. I came back in '93, and I wanted to get involved in the city. I mean, this is my hometown. I love this community. And so I immediately sought to serve on something. And I have never not been in service somewhere to the city. I was on the Board of Zoning Appeals for 10 years. I did the Landmarks Commission. I did a couple that are no longer around. They've been either done away with or rolled into something else.
Some had some sunshine clauses where they were
Yeah,
tasked
yeah.
with certain things. And we could still do that. Council has the authority that if there's something that we feel we would like an ad hoc committee or a subcommittee formed.
The local option is there.
The
Sure.
mayor can
Sure.
ask for that, and council can approve.
Yeah.
And it could just be for a short term. It could be 6 months working on an
Sure.
important issue that we feel
Yeah.
needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So we have that opportunity too. And also the boards and commissions are a great way to kind of find out how the city works.
I
The
had that on
overall-
my
oh,
notes.
All right, the
Yeah.
overall how the city works, how
Yep.
the operations are, what are all the different departments and what do they all mean?
Right.
And then how does that fall into our strategic plan for the city?
Yep.
And each one of those boards and commissions has staff representation
Right.
on it. So, we have staff dollars and time invested in these as well.
Right.
So it's a really great kind of like one-stop shop, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity if you feel down the line you may want to run for council, city council. Getting on a board and commission will give you kind of an opportunity to see how, like I say, how the city works, how the operation side works, how it goes to council, how do things move throughout the system. It gives you a great heads up to how things work.
Absolutely. I have learned so much about this city, not just from doing this show, but more importantly, I think, from serving on different
Sure.
boards and commissions. And Steve, you mentioned about running for council. I will just take that opportunity to segue into the fact that right now there is an opening on
Yes.
city council, and you guys will be appointing someone.
Yes.
What's the deadline for someone
May
to
9th at 10 a.m.
May 9th at 10 a.m. That's the deadline for someone to apply.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, for boards and commissions, we take applications all year
all year
round.
round. Okay.
All year
This
round.
is just
But
for
for the vacant council
filling
seat,
the
yes.
council seat.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And
They
then
can
that
get that
select-
application also online.
Online,
And
okay.
everything.
Yes.
So May 9th at 10 a.m., that's the deadline for someone to apply for the city council position. The boards and commissions that we've been chatting about for the last 35 minutes or so, you can apply anytime, again, online, or you can download the application from online and do it that way. Is there a limit as to how many committees a person can serve on simultaneously?
We do not have that currently in place. There are some things about potentially opportunities to add maybe alternates that I would like to bring back for council to discuss to those boards and commissions that maybe don't necessarily have alternates designated, but that might be something that we also have a discussion about.
Right. We have the term limits thing, but most citizens, if they serve in more than two, I don't know that we have anybody. There's some time commitment there.
Yeah,
You know?
I know. I served on the Board of Appeals for 10 years, and at that point, I still could have continued, but I thought 10 years was a good amount of time,
Yep.
and I chose to get off to allow someone else to have an opportunity. I've put in an application to go back on that board, and so we'll see where that lands, guys.
And every year at the State of the City, we recognize members that have 5, 10, 15. We've had some as high as 25, 30 years on some of our boards and commissions. So, we recognize their help to the city.
Sure.
And that's a great opportunity at the State of the City to recognize those citizens that
Yeah.
have been engaged for
Yeah.
a long time.
And just because there's a term assigned to a position,
There's not an automatic reappointment. We ask them to just,
Let you know
indicate
if-
if they would
yep.
like to continue serving.
Yep.
It's not automatic. Well, although, sometimes, we'll have to maybe make sure we get somebody addressed and applied
Yep.
to fill a hole. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So we
All
encourage
right.
all citizens of Oshkosh to get engaged in
All
local
right.
government.
Yes, so I would echo that. So go to the city's website, take a look again at the different positions.
It's under government and boards and commissions.
Okay, gotcha. All right. And speaking of volunteering, I'm going to take a moment here. Ion Oshkosh is always looking for volunteers to help us out. You don't need any experience. We'll train you. It's not that complicated, but it is an important thing to do. And if you have anywhere from 2 to 5 hours a month that you'd like to donate to our cause here, we would appreciate that. And address, the email address is up on the screen right now of how to get in touch with us. So if you're interested, please let us know. That's a wrap, guys.
Thank you.
I can't believe we got through all these.
We got through the entire list.
We did.
You were
we
good.
did.
You were
And
good.
even had a little bit of extra time.
There we go.
So that's going to do it for us. Thanks to you guys for being
Thank you.
here and to my guests
For-
from the earlier segment. As always, thanks to the crew and to you. We will see you next time. Until then, take care. Keep your eye on us. We've got All Right on Oshkosh.